The East Fishkill Planning Board will now come to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Ed Miyoshi?
John Aikman.
Steve Caswell. What about you?
I'll do it last.
Oh, you're
Michael
last.
O'Brien.
Michael O'Brien, there you go, John Cutler.
Craig Smith.
You're
Do we have
not
another
last.
alternate in the stands that we
Yeah,
could?
Jason's coming.
Okay,
Jason.
please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Guy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record show that Ed Miyoshi is sitting in for Lori G. Well, for me.
For you.
Yeah. I'm not sure how that works, but okay.
It's okay. But Ed's here and Lori's not.
There we go. Okay. Oh, I see, we put it in a separate. Apologies. The upcoming meeting dates are October 17th and November 21st. Right now, I don't believe we have anything on for the 17th. But let's revisit that at the end of this evening in case we need this. We're not going to cancel that. Approval of the minutes from previous meetings. The first one was June 6th. Was Lori, Jason, myself, Craig, John, and John E.
I'll figure it out.
So
We have a form?
we need 4, right? As a quorum? Yes. So we have the bare minimum.
Move approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I'm going to abstain. I
June
was
6th.
I
absent.
need to abstain also, was not here.
Yep. July 18th. Let me see, we have Craig, John C., John E., Steve, and Ed. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes, and are we comfortable with them?
I'll move
Yes.
approval.
A second.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those minutes are approved. Yeah, oh, by the way, are there any opposed? I thought I heard all. Okay. September 5th. I have not read those, so I'm going to take a dive on that one. Okay. Any other comments on the minutes before we? Okay. The first item on our agenda tonight is Beekman Gardens sketch plan. So, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Sam Roach. This is our second presentation for this as a sketch plan. And so I'll just confirm that you all have the drawings. Do you all have them with you so that I can refer to them as we?
I do, but, go ahead.
I do.
Yes. We do.
Yes.
So maybe I'll just summarize the basic changes we made since our last meeting.
Okay.
And I'll also say that we're looking for your guidance and comments to incorporate as soon as possible for a formal application, which we're hoping to make as soon as we can. We're looking to make the necessary changes to the barn once we have the permit. We're hoping for this year before it gets too cold to do it. So we're looking to incorporate your feedback and comments as quickly as we can.
Okay. In that spirit.
Yes.
I was telling the board members that really to supply as much feedback as possible. I mean,
Okay.
that's kind of why you're here, so.
Yes, exactly,
we'll-
exactly.
we'll
So
belabor the points.
Yes, and our hope is that we can incorporate these directly into the formal application. And so, just to summarize the changes that were made from the first sketch plan and that are now developed into a more formal plan for the site, we've proposed to move the parking lot, well, actually, the parking lot remains where it was, but we've proposed to move access to the parking lot to Clove Branch Road off of Beekman Road. And that mostly had to do with gradient considerations. The slope was too steep, really, to get access from Beekman Road. So we moved that, and that necessitated some changes to the way the building will be used, not necessarily to what the elements are in the building, but basically it needs to be approached from another side, right? And then there are two spaces. We've added 2 bathrooms inside. There's a food preparation area that is not a full kitchen. It's just it will have food warming capabilities and storage capabilities, but it's not a full kitchen. The idea is that food will be prepared elsewhere and brought to this site. And I just want to say one quick thing about accessibility on the site. Basically, there are 2 levels here connected by an existing staircase, which we hope to maintain. So both levels are accessible either from the parking lot or from the existing parking there now, and they're connected by a path.
So that's the ADA issue?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
ADA accessibility.
Because there's also the fire truck.
Yes,
So I wasn't sure which one we were doing.
Yes,
Okay,
ADA
that's the
accessibility is what I'm
Okay, thank you.
referring to here. So the parking lot has been repositioned. A new terrace is proposed on one side of the house, on one side of the barn. That terrace is accessible by a stair from the parking lot or by a ramp from the existing parking where the proposed handicap parking will be. Accessible parking will be. So basically, the 2 levels can be accessed individually, but they're ADA accessible individually, but the person would have to go around on the ramp, right, from the main level or from the loft level down the ramp to the accessible parking and into the main barn space, or vice versa.
Okay.
So these are the main changes that we've incorporated. And again, no real changes to the exterior of the barn. There are a couple of windows that are missing that we want to replicate what's there to replace this. It's not a replacement, there's nothing there, but to add new windows that look exactly like the old ones.
Okay.
Okay? And I think there's
But
one
they're-
that's shuttered over, and that needs to be.
Because I couldn't find the previous drawings, but there's just wall there. There's no window there now, I think there were 2 new windows that were added.
The only windows that we're proposing, we're not proposing any new openings. We're not
Okay.
proposing to make any new openings.
Oh, okay, so there were windows there that were just old and needed to be completely replaced, or?
As far as I remember, there are 3 windows that need to be replaced. One is shuttered, or it's not even shuttered, it's just plywood over the window, so that window will be replaced. Another on the loft side. There are 2 windows on the loft side that need to be replaced. One is one I think is just an opening now. I don't think there aren't even doors or windows there. That needs to be covered. And the other one is, I think it's an open window that needs to be replaced also. So again, we're just putting back what is there and has gone missing. We're not introducing any new openings into the barn.
Okay.
That covers our basic
Okay.
summary.
Let me just start with the planning board members. Do you comments or questions?
What are the occupancy limits for the building?
We have proposed 150-person occupancy, and that is based on the usable square footage divided by, I think, 15 net multiplier for unconcentrated occupancy, tables and chairs, which is how we imagine these 2 main spaces would be used. So we got an occupancy of 150. We can have 2 bathrooms with 150-person occupancy, 1 male, 1 female bathroom. Those are the 2 new bathrooms that we're adding. We have up to 150 to have 2 bathrooms. There is an existing bathroom also that we hope to keep as a service bathroom. It's not ADA accessible, so we're going to leave it in place, and it's going to be an extra bathroom that basically can be used by service people. Yeah.
Does 150 require a sprinkler system in the
Yes.
building?
Yes.
And so you
It
will
will
be installing one?
We will install an automated sprinkler system.
Is the number of parking spaces adequate for 150 people?
Yes. Yes.
Is there going to be an easement with the church, or?
Well, as we are proposing now, There may be overflow, there is the possibility in the future to have overflow parking at the church.
Okay.
For now, I think we have 24 spaces. Is that what we have, or 28
You
spaces?
get 24 spaces, you're figuring 6 people per car for 150 people? And then where are your wait staff and everybody else going to be parked?
Well, we also have the parking the accessible parking that's on the existing parking area, and we can also use the roundabout for service vehicles. And it's possible that now that we don't have to access the parking from Beekman Road, that we can use the space in front of the existing stables down on the lower level for service parking as well.
Okay.
And we can follow up and supply the calculations for to show that the parking is the required parking amount for this capacity.
Okay, because I would suggest, I know a lot of weddings these days run a shuttle bus or something between the hotel where they're staying and the location, which would help you out immensely.
Ideally, there is plenty of parking very close. There's one issue that we've noticed with Clove Branch Road, which is that cars tend to come around very fast on that curve, and there's not much visibility, therefore time, for them to see people crossing the road there. So it's for this reason that we haven't incorporated the overflow parking into our parking right now. We think that that's an issue that we all need your input for, because it's possible that some sort of something to make that crossing safer would make the use of the overflow parking more viable. I will also say that we were hoping to get our parking opening, or our drive, as close to that one as we could, so people could just walk across. But we're really constricted on this site with regard to where the parking can be. There are just not many good places for it. It's basically steep all around, so the parking really has to be where it is.
Speaking of that, are you still planning on having people do photo sessions across the road?
We'd like to plan for that possibility. This is the same issue with people crossing a busy road. So again, we're looking for your guidance on that, on how that might be planned for or accommodated. There are no immediate plans to do that. You'll see on the site plan that we put something like uncover or covered open structure there, with the hope that if eventually that is something that we want to do, that we'd like to go ahead and seek approval for that. But again, this relates to the same issue of crossing this busy road.
Okay. Do we want to deal with these in turn? I mean, Professional Michelle, did you want to talk to that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think what the planning board has to look at, they have the special permit that they have to make sure that they feel that the proposed project meets the conditions of the special permit. But I think in addition to that, you have to take into consideration the capacity that's proposed, the parking, and also the different types of uses of the property, like across the street, and perhaps maybe set some conditions or limitations on some of those things that you feel comfortable with when if you decide to approve this as part of the special permit. And I think that one of the questions I had for you, because this was brought up at the last meeting, was that there was a discussion about whether or not the building structurally could meet the building code. And did you look at all the building code issues and find out that you didn't need to do anything major structurally to the barn?
Yes.
Okay, so that's been looked at?
Yes.
Okay. But I mean, in those issues, though, I mean, I understand that we're supposed to be commenting on that, but talk to me, I mean, guys, in terms of the
Well,
road.
one thing I would comment on just is that 36 spaces and 150 people, which is already brought up, it does not seem like it's going to accommodate fully. So if, the question I had is, it's up to 150. Is the typical event going to be, say, 50 people, and then 36 spaces is more realistic, and perhaps there's going to be some overflow on grassed area, is not going to be a permanent parking. So that, we'd have to understand how that's going to work, and perhaps you could provide us a little bit more detail about like what a typical event would be and how that would work. And then if, in fact, there were an event that could go up to 150 people, perhaps they would have to provide some sort of traffic management plan for that event, and maybe even hire somebody to, help people come across the street or whatever it is, if they had an off-site parking area. I think those are the types of things that we'd have to talk about and potentially put into some sort of
Can
resolution if
private
you guys
groups-
decided to approve it.
Employ a crossing guard? I mean,
Well,
I
I
know
mean,
that, like at Christmas
Well,
time.
like, yeah, that's a county road, so we have no
Right.
jurisdiction
Okay.
over that road. So they'd have to have a dialogue with the county. I will say that I'm not aware of any other project that we've allowed parking across the street.
No,
So, I think a lot of questions got to be taken with regard to that.
and whether or not it can be
As-
accommodated on the grassed area on the site itself.
And, the applicant did mention cars do go zipping, and there is a slight, decline on that hill there. So, it's not the ideal location. But again, that's the county's road. The county would have to weigh in on that.
On Clove Branch, when coming,
Branch,
okay.
Right.
Beekman, they're both county roads.
One thing I would
There
recommend
was
also.
previously, I think, a 3-lot subdivision proposed. I don't know if maybe you recall.
Yes,
And there were issues that didn't go forward.
okay. David, you're going
To assist you before you go before the county, you might want to take a look at the sidelines, plot the side distance, both on Clove Branch, and I would say also on County Road 9, both directions.
The sightlines with regard,
And exiting and entering traffic.
Okay.
At the access points specifically. I'm assuming that the front part, on the access off of County Route 9, that's going to be just a drop-off, turnaround.
yes, basically that's existing access to the property. And so we propose to put a sign there that directs people to parking around on Clove Branch Road, which is where
But
they'll.
as Scott said, that is a county road. I'm pretty sure they'll weigh in as far as your access improvements, if any are needed.
Well, but we're not proposing to make any improvements to that existing entry to the
They're
building.
changing the use.
But they may ask you to make improvements, the county, when you go to see them.
You're going from residential to commercial
Right.
use.
They're probably going to make you do a commercial entrance.
But they may
there.
not give them access for commercial based on the grade, though.
Yeah, there's a grading issue there. Basically,
Right. Kelly, did you have to close that off? I don't know, you've had dialogue with them?
no.
I think you should, start it now before you get into the meat and potatoes of it, because your access, that's, you have to have access. If you don't have access, then
Right,
forget it.
right.
So I would start now,
And what is the office that we should be in touch
It
with?
would be the Poughkeepsie office,
Uh-huh.
Steve Gill.
The Poughkeepsie office of
Dutchess County Department of Public Works.
Public Works.
Public Works.
Okay.
And they may weigh in also as to the capacity of the site. They may say to you, we're okay with 25, but we're not okay with 200. I don't know what they're going to say, but
Right.
that's possible.
Right, right. I have, maybe this is a question for you all, but as I understand it, the zoning for this building is, it's historic structure. It's not commercial, right?
Well, the special permit allows commercial
Right.
uses, depending on the type of commercial uses, the capacity, all those things are looked at in
But-
determining whether or not the commercial use fits that special permit.
Right. But does that then require, because it's a historic building, does that then require that it conform to all of the requirements of any commercial use?
Yeah. Yep, as far as the roadways, yes, absolutely, and the thing, because that's not even our jurisdiction.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So that as I understand it, that really, the special permit pertains more to just the building and the preservation of that, and, which, by the way, I think, Michelle, you're, I don't want to steal your words, but I think you said it certainly meets the spirit of it, that
Right.
it is in keeping with the rural nature of that road and the place, and and it would be great. I mean, in all disclosure, my son was married this summer in a barn in Vermont, and it was beautiful, so.
And the site is well suited to it. It looks it looks from the survey that the parking lot is in the middle of everything, but actually, it's on a high point, on a wooded high point. If it's accessible from the back, you won't really see it. Any light shining from the cars that are coming up on will not really be visible from the neighbors because of the way that it's situated. So really, the site lends itself to exactly this kind of use, we feel.
Which is one of the things, if the planning board so desires, I would recommend that perhaps maybe a site visit be done to see, if where they're laying out the parking lot seems like it's a realistic location and seems like it would be buffered enough from the residential properties, and look to see if what they're proposing, and maybe, with the eye on what the capacity maybe should be, and if you need to actually restrict the capacity at all, or if you're comfortable with the 150 or whatever, wherever that number is. So it may be a good idea to have a site visit.
Can we do that without, as I understand, this is the second of two sessions, so
I think
that
once
when
they-
it comes back as a,
As a formal application, we could
Formal
set a,
application,
we could
right.
set a,
okay.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Have you talked to the Department of Health?
No.
Okay, so that would be all just part of the formal
Yes.
application? And, let me see, drainage study for the parking lot, I think was suggested as well.
Yeah, you'll have to do a, assuming that, you talk to the county about the access, because most of that parking lot drains towards the county road, but you'll have to hire an engineer to do a drainage study. You'll have to have a soil and erosion control plan for the site. And also, the parking lot is about 25 feet higher than the barn. So
Right.
How are people going to get from the parking lot to the barn? You're going to have a staircase, or what?
Yeah, there's a proposed stair. So I should have added that as the third major site thing. So the parking lot, a stair that connects it to a new terrace that is adjacent to the loft. Those are the,
So how are you going to afford handicap accessibility?
because the handicap accessibility is actually on the lower level for car parking. The handicap accessible space is on
That's assuming the county gives you access off Beekman
through
Road. don't
through Beekman Road. That's right. For
So you really need to get with them, yeah.
yeah.
And what you were saying, before, that people will come to the site, that they would come to the County Route 9 entrance and see a sign that tells them to go around the corner and park in the parking lot. That seems a little odd, because I think you're going to have traffic issues.
Well, really, the way that this would probably be handled is that directions to the site would be given to the Clove Branch access for approaching by car. And that's
Okay.
something that people, anyone scheduled
And there are
booking that
like
space.
invitations or something
Yeah,
like that?
yes.
It would have to have a full branch
Okay.
address. That could resolve that.
So your Beekman Road, as I said before, that'll be just your drop-off, handicap access, and
Right,
then
right.
parking would be directed to the...
Yeah, and it's possible that service cars would access the barn from Beekman Road. Because the food preparation area is on that lowest level, which really only fronts onto Beekman Road. And there is, basically, you can think of the whole thing as 3 levels. There's a stable at the level of Beekman Road. One level up is the main barn level, which you have to drive around slightly to get up to. That's where the handicap parking spaces would be. One level up from that is the loft level, which then would back onto a new terrace that's accessible to the parking lot via staircase.
can you show me where you would have space to handle overflow parking if you needed to do on the site, like where on the site that would be?
Yeah, I think if we had to do it on the site, we'd have to do it here. And it's possible that if we have access here, that there's a space here where we can do it.
Okay.
So
So
there,
you would do it around the circle and then in here?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so, David, anything else? Michelle, any other comments?
Just that I think we just need to I don't know if you understood fully with the Department of Health, we need to make sure that you have the capacity to handle the people that are going to be there using the facility, like that your septic system can accommodate that, and there might have to be improvements made, or
Okay.
you have to see if they'll approve it, basically, for that
Okay.
site.
And the water system,
and-
too, for health department, too.
And you should contact them.
Okay. And that too may influence the capacity for the building?
Correct.
Yep, okay.
Correct.
So just so we're clear on our side, the things that are influencing the capacity of the building, apart from whatever its ideal capacity is, are the capacity of water and sewer system and parking.
Correct.
Okay.
And then, of course, any fire code restrictions, but I'm assuming you looked at that when you looked at the number for, okay.
Yeah, the FAB wanted to be able to circulate a fire truck
1,000 gallons.
on
Right.
site, so.
Right.
Yeah, but
That's more accessibility, right, from the.
Right.
Yeah.
they probably will.
So, Michelle, is that it?
I'm just looking right now to make sure that we
Meantime,
talked
Pete?
about all of the,
No, I talked about the drainage study, mentioned about the county health department, but, you really do need to go to the county health department and the county public works department, because those are two agencies that are, critical to this application, and I suggest you get to them sooner
Okay.
rather than later.
Right.
All right.
That's all.
Scott?
No, I would just say that as far as the parking, there's going to be an expense associated with it, but I think with some terracing, combination of cut, fill, some retaining walls, that more parking in line with what's proposed could be established on the site.
It's possible that parking lot could be extended in one of the long directions by a couple of spaces.
Or, the contours are pretty consistent along that ridge right there, so if you can get the first one built, I don't see why you can't extend that quite a good distance.
The original proposal, and I apologize, I said warm weather events only. Is it
Yes.
still?
Yes.
Okay.
so when you submit your formal application, if you could just write a narrative, sort of just, stating all these things, that it would be seasonal, like what your actual season would be month to month.
Okay.
And then, your ideal capacity, and any other information that you think would be helpful for us. You should also state that the kitchen would be just for warming food and would not be a full kitchen, all
Okay.
those sorts of things. That would be
Okay.
helpful to have that in a narrative.
Okay.
One thing that I'm sorry to bring up, but as far as emergency responders, I don't know that accessing it from the top parking lot is going to work. And then if you can't get access from the bottom parking lot, we should get the FAB comments
Yeah,
early on as well, because that's a big structure, 150 people, an old barn.
they actually already commented, and they
They want to
wanted,
get a ladder truck in there, how do they do it?
they commented they want the turning radius for trucks. They want
And
to
they
see
got
it.
big trucks,
Yeah.
said there's no way the trucks are coming in off Beekman Road. So that's a significant item, along with Health Department and Public Works.
Currently, the existing opening there is, I think, 17.9 between two stone pillars. So that's another thing that's influencing how.
Yeah, but a ladder truck's not getting through there.
And so you say that it can't get there from Beekman Road, and why is that?
In my opinion, it's just not enough, even with the 17 feet in the gravel surface, and then you got the barn, it's a huge vehicle.
Yeah.
You'll have to run the turning radiuses, but in my opinion, it's never going to get through there. But again, I'm not the fire department, and I'm not the traffic consultant, but just my opinion. And then you gotta get it turned around.
You're going to have to look at it. Let's leave it at
And then
that.
you're going to get it turned around in there.
Yeah,
So,
then they gotta turn
I
around and get
don't
back
know
up.
how that's all happening.
Well, can they use the drive to do that?
That's going to be too difficult too,
talk
because
to
you're
them.
saying you're going to use that for your service vehicles.
Well,
Might
I
be
mean,
parking there.
it's a big puzzle, right? So eventually, if that's the only way for those trucks to turn around, well, then that probably has to stay free for them.
It may need some improvement, but again, as you said, FAB said that they would like circulation. That's the only
Maybe they can make
alternative
this
you
into
have.
some sort of surface, like a nicer.
Let's look at that. I mean,
It's gonna have
again,
to be
if
a
it's a
paved
warm
surface.
weather,
It's gonna
it
have
would
to
seem
be
to
a
me
paved
that the
surface.
lawn invites itself for circulation as well, right?
I would not presume to speak for FAB, whether or not they want to go on a lawn or...
Okay.
No, they're not going on a lawn, not with that equipment, no.
Yeah, that's heavy equipment.
Sinking the mud or whatever.
Yeah.
Asking
Jason,
for
are
trouble.
you fire department?
Yeah, why?
Hmm?
Yeah.
Any
Do you care to
thoughts?
comment? I mean,
Would you care to comment?
They're not doing it alone.
They're gonna have to change.
Tight the way it is.
Doesn't improve this. Keep it clear. So that's parking.
I don't know.
Use here.
So you should show a truck going up through there.
I'm sorry?
If, he should show a fire apparatus going up through here.
Okay. All right. All right, I think we've noted that as an issue, and Scott, Tom, anything else? Pete, you said you were digging for one more? or-
No, I'm all done. All good.
Ed? John?
Did we talk about hours of operation yet? I'm sorry. if we did.
No, we didn't. We talked
Didn't
about
we?
them a bit at the last meeting.
Okay.
And so just to confirm what those are, daytime, early evening, any music that's played, we propose to have inside. Let's see, when would an evening wedding and reception end? 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock?
The closest house is how far? I mean, it's,
The house, it's a 12-acre piece of property, and one corner of it, the closest neighbor is at one corner of the property that used to be part of the property. It's the intersection of Clove Ranch and
Right.
Beekman Road.
okay. So it's,
And what is that?
okay, just
it-
a consideration.
Because that's
200
also
feet
something
from the
that the
barn.
planning board could choose to restrict,
Right.
10 PM cutoff or 11 PM cutoff or whatever it is.
But you do propose amplified music is going to be inside the building?
We propose that music that would be played would be inside, yeah.
Okay. Got it. Great. Good.
Is anything going to be going on in the new terrace? Or is that strictly just to get from the parking?
Well, the room that abuts the terrace, that's adjacent to the terrace, is a reception room. So it's possible that people would use the terrace as well once they're there at a gathering. And so what issues do we need to consider if that's the case? Yeah, it's not just a landing
Curious
place.
if any of the music would be out there.
No, our proposal is to have music inside.
Jason, any other comments or questions? Craig?
Any landscaping that you planning on doing?
The only landscaping that we propose, well, there are two things. One is landscaping related to the staircase connecting the parking lot to the terrace. The other is buffer landscaping along the boundary shared with the house on the corner, so that can be screened. Although that's really less of an issue now, we feel, because we used to have the drive coming up there, and so you really needed screening. Because of the way that the parking lot is approached now, you really never come into close contact with that boundary, but we probably would still plant there just to have something to screen that off from our site.
Anything else, or? Mr. Cutler? Okay.
I think, just to back up Michelle's comments, I think when appropriate, I would like to do a site visit. I think that would be a good idea.
I think we're kind of dwelling on the negative, because I think that's kind of what you're seeking here, but again, I do think this is a great idea. It's a potentially great use for that building and site, so.
Thank you, yeah.
Pardon? Any other comments? Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions for us?
I don't think so. I think I have some questions about when the next meeting is and what we need to submit for that meeting. A lot of it you've given me in the comments, but I think I can seek that outside of this.
The actual formal proposal, I think, is a lot of the same paperwork,
Yeah,
correct?
it is a lot of the same paperwork, except for I would suggest, just as we've mentioned before, that you get to the Department of Health
Right.
and also Public Works, because that may go to your capacity, and you don't want to submit something that
Yes,
you
and then
then
have to change that.
right?
Yes,
You
yes.
also need to address your access points.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, until all those points are addressed, I wouldn't even submit your application.
Right.
I mean, it's,
I think a lot of the other folks here today could tell you what a wild card some of those can be. So here, you do well to really understand them before. So, okay.
Right, yes, I understand.
Anything else that we can,
You can pick up the application in the planning office, and I'll be there tomorrow, and Pam will be there tomorrow.
Okay, and I just have one last question about the ARB review of this project. And so would that take place after we've submitted the application? Or is, okay.
We'll refer it to the ARB once you submit.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, that covers all of my questions for you all.
anyone else, questions or? Thank you. And Sam?
Yeah,
Thank you, Sam.
okay, thank you all.
Appreciate it. I
Thank you.
hope you got what you wanted. and-
Yes, thank you for all of your
Thank you.
feedback.
Okay.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Sprainbrook Meadows, 9-lot subdivision on Townsend Road. This was before us 3 years ago?
5?
5, okay. Time flies when you're having fun. Now, if I could just open with a question, I mean, there seem to be some new wetlands delineations in this plan. Could we get an explanation of like what changed? Were the original lines incorrect?
So what it is I confirmed with the applicant's professional that and correct me if I'm wrong, that the DEC last was out at the site in 2004? Is that right?
That is the last map I found about 10 minutes before I left the office. It was dated 2004. It was endorsed by the DEC with a 10-year validation.
Yeah, so they may have to revalidate the wetland line. Sometimes that means they'll come out and redo it. Other times it means they'll just take what they've already done. It just depends on how they see the site.
Okay.
So we just need to make sure that that's done. The other concern is that there are wetlands across the street potentially that could result in the houses being in the buffer of the wetlands across the street now. I understand that there's a roadway, between them, so we just don't know how the DEC is going to look at that, and what they'll require. So that just needs to be something that is addressed with the DEC as well.
Okay. So you're okay with DEC has to come back and look at it, and that's one of the questions to be posed?
Well,
Yeah.
there may be some subsequent visits, I think.
There was a-
Your husband came out.
Yeah, there was a visit, another delineation, yes.
6 years ago.
But the DECs will either confirm that line, or they'll say they want to come out again, and I'm not sure what they're going to ultimately decide, and I mean, it just depends. I've seen them do both,
So there may be a more recent map from the DEC on that.
just as long as you don't have an expired validation from DEC, basically.
We will make sure the final plans do have a validated DEC
Okay.
map, one way or the other. If we have to pursue any kind of mapping or delineation, we'll do that as needed.
I mean, to the point, I jog and ride my bike there. The one side is very wet. I understand where you guys, across the road, so how DEC treats that will be certainly interesting to see.
It's been a while since this project's been before anybody. We're hoping that with this meeting and recirculating, anything is necessary, we can kind of get this back on the radar for all parties involved. If you recall, in 2012, we had already at that point gone back and forth with the board, incorporated some of your suggestions, and around 2012 is when Sandy and the revised floodplain maps, and that's where it stalled. They basically included nearly the entire property in the floodplain. After that revision, the applicant hired the services of A.E. Knapp. I believe he's out of Albany, and he performed a study and had a LOMA supplied through FEMA, and it was executed, and it is no longer in the floodplain, this being the area that is out of the floodplain now. So the property, that portion of the property, I'm not sure if, you said you jog, I'm not sure if anyone's familiar. If you go in there, it's a raised, elevated knoll, the whole thing, sandy gravel, and it's clearly would be out of any kind of floodplain.
And I apologize, your name is?
Brian Watts from MA Day
Brian.
Engineering.
Thanks, Brian. I apologize.
Nope.
So,
283.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry.
So the 8 versus 9 lots, for a while it was 8 and it was 9, but I believe that was just an error, that there was one diagram that had 8 lots.
I'd have to go back through the history because we have some personnel changes
Okay.
in our office, I believe, with the town and other people's. At one time, I think there was 11 lots,
There was one time it was 14 lots.
14.
Okay.
I
Then
think,
we brought it down to the 9.
I think at one time it might have been 8 because we had a stormwater pond.
Yeah, remember you had the moratorium in town, we were talking about doing 8. It was 8 or under. That's what held us up as well.
Okay,
And that general vicinity would have been a stormwater pond.
okay, so it
And-
is, but it is 9.
Not anymore. We are proposing to, and I believe this was, I think Mr. Joe Dennis, in previous correspondence, if I'm not mistaken, had encouraged us to try and use some green infrastructure to handle stormwater, given it is residential nature. So we're going to be trying to tackle any kind of drainage and stormwater issues with rooftop disconnects, some green swales.
So the driveways for Townsend could be potentially in the buffer? Is that's,
For
I guess that remains to be seen.
Dependent upon DEC, if
Right.
they include the wetland on this side of this street, depending on where that is, the 100-foot buffer for that may extend over Townsend Road into our frontage of the lots, but from from the records I've seen, it didn't appear that they'd considered that at that time. I can't speak to say if they still feel that way now.
Okay. And the septics as well, I guess, you know. this is all
Individuals,
just- Okay.
sewage and water as well will remain.
Okay, so the things that we need to do here, I think, one, we need to kind of recirculate.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to, I think that'll help answer some of the questions with DEC and see if there's any changes. And then, you know, if in fact you have to redo the wetland line, or, you know, if it's worse, if it's better, if it's the same, then we'll get some more indication of whether or not they'll also accept your practices. And then also you have a habitat assessment that was done sometime in the last few years, right? That has to be sent to DEC for review. So I think once we circulate, we can get them all that information, they can give comments, and then we'll have a better idea of where to go from there.
So walk me through the procedure here. I mean,
So I think what we need to do is just, we already had circulated for lead agency, and I think we were sort of in the process of gathering information, and that was a while ago. So the plans have changed since then, because I think the last plans that were circulated were the ones that showed the basin on Lot 5.
I
And
think so, yes.
DEC commented that they had an issue with the basin on Lot 5 because they didn't want the direct discharge to the wetland, I believe, or something like
I
that.
think previously there was a overflow pipe that was discharged directly to wetland.
And so I think ultimately then the plans went away and were altered, so now this is a new set of plans, so we should recirculate these to see, get a new set of comments, see if they have any issues with what is proposed, and then go from there.
okay, so,
We'll work with their office on recirculating.
That's fine, absolutely.
So you
So
just
do we-
reaffirm your lead agency status and,
You make a motion to reaffirm and to recirculate.
okay. Do I have a motion to reaffirm our status as the lead agent?
So moved.
All
well, they
those in
must
favor?
have them.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Because they had them at one point.
Okay, so we have now redeclared ourselves lead agency, and then the circulation process begins.
They're gonna see. the-
Do you, anyone, it's the professionals are, I get nervous when the town attorney leans in. Is something,
I'm more
So do I.
oh, okay. Anything else from our professionals?
No, I mean, I think we need to know exactly where this wetland boundary is, because if they do change it, and maybe, I mean, you may want to check with DEC pretty soon and see if they can get you this information sooner than later, because it could alter things for you.
Because if you circulate a plan that has an expired certification,
Yep.
you're going to have to redo it. Right? So it behooves you to make sure you're certification hasn't expired or is renewed by DEC, and then circulate that.
Yeah.
Now,
think
would
we
we
did
be
get-
living dangerously if we tried to
We did.
schedule a public
We did,
hearing
because they
on
showed
this?
us,
I
yes.
mean, we were in the middle of a public hearing.
Yeah, no, we're too early to
Okay.
to do that until we know.
I think the plans need a little,
Okay.
before they're ready for.
You guys okay with that? I mean,
Yeah, previously, we hadn't started the public hearing. I don't think we were entertaining the idea, I believe, when,
Well, the FEMA issue came.
that's when
And
that
then he had to go
issue
to
came up and
FEMA, he
everything.
went, got the lot line realignment, this is the first we're seeing of it.
Yes.
Yeah, the moratorium long expired 12, 13 years ago, but FEMA did the maps and then came in and did it.
Now, did you get the comments from the town's floodplain administrator on the, because he did a quick review of the floodplain?
I don't think I'll
get those to you.
comments. Not yet.
any other comments or questions from the board members?
No.
Okay. Any for us, or I think, okay, so we're all going to recirculate, get some new plans, find out where they are, and then all these points, you know, driveways, septics, et cetera.
Grading, drainage,
Pardon?
grading and drainage.
Grading and
all that
drainage,
needs to be
thank you.
shown.
I think that's, and particularly the handling of the area across the street is going to be kind of key. Okay, and is there anything else we need to do on this one tonight?
No, and I'll get him the comments from the floodplain administrator. Some of them, he has some of similar comments. He was concerned about the lack of grading and all that to be
Right.
able to really determine the floodplain issue. So I'll get you those comments.
Right, the floodplain, we just got that back right at the end of 2016, so it's taken a little while to try and get things back on track in our office before we came back here, so that's in addition why there was even more delay.
Because you do have a few septics that are shown within, you know, the floodplain, now whether they're gonna, you know, remain there or not, but if that's the only, I mean, obviously, these lots are tight, so if that's the spot that they're gonna be, you're gonna have to work with the floodplain administrator to see how that's gonna be handled.
I think we plan on, we're going to move the septic slightly. We didn't want to change the plan too much because we know there was just such a long time between what you saw and what we're going to submit. We just wanted to overlay the new floodplain. We have some new topo. The topography within the floodplain is newer than the surrounding topography because that was done as part of the floodplain, or the floodplain analysis with a different surveyor. We're going to see if we can get additional topo that's more current, so that both sets of topographies agree with each other.
But before we recirculate, you should put the new stuff, whatever you have that's new on
New
there.
stuff is on there
Okay.
in the topography.
Okay.
Mr. McGrath, any other comments, or?
No, thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
Okay.
I think that's,
I think that's.
a wrap?
Good. Yep, lots of, let's go
go.
recirculate and get these answers.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, next up, Hunter's Ridge.
This is different.
So this one, I'm going to just let, you know, again, we've got the materials. Thank you.
Thank you.
So why don't you walk us through, I mean, you went from 8 lots to 4, and then why don't you just, I'll let you do the talking, how's that? And then,
That would be good.
I just wanted to come back and see you guys again. I missed you so much. and
you know, I can hit the
talk about
panic
this
button
one
on board
project.
members, too.
This project goes back to 2005, and it's been an oldie but goodie. But long story short, we've got numerous extensions on final approval. This thing is ready to rock and roll. The only problem is we just can't find a buyer for the subdivision. The applicant's small mom and pop. He's not a big developer. So we've always had this issue with securing a road bond to allow us to file the map. And through that process, we've asked for numerous extensions. We probably have had 5 or 6 developers over the course of 4 or 5 years look at this project, and the underlying problem with this project is that the infrastructure road costs are just, the market's not there to support the infrastructure required to support the 8-lot subdivision. So in looking at it, we're looking for avenues out of this project, and the thought was, let's float an idea in front of the board tonight. We're not rescinding our application, we're not amending our application at this point. We're just here tonight to get a general feel-good from the board, the pulse of the board on this concept, which is getting rid of the road, going from 8 lots down to 4 lots, and trying to configure them in a manner that meets the flag lot requirement and position the houses accordingly to work with the code to get a total of 4 lots down from 8. So basically what we have shown is we have 4 individual residences. We're trying to maintain septic locations as they were previously approved. We have 2 test wells that are located on site that are associated with what I believe Lot 3 and 1. Trying to maintain those in the lots that we can reuse them since they were dug and tested. We would obviously, in moving forward, if the board is okay with this layout, is, obviously we're going back to the Board of Health. We're revisiting drainage, new sediment erosion control plan. We would be, we'd have to come into conformance with the new drainage regulations. So there is a lot of work to get to this process of the 4-lot layout. And before we initiate any of that, we just wanted to see what the board's feelings were on this layout that you see. The pole portions of the lot, they're not at the 50-foot minimum. We've tried to expand them as much as possible, working from the southern property line up to what is my property line. We're reconfiguring my property line slightly to get that 60-foot width, which is greater than 50, to support the dimensional requirements. We've worked with the planning department before this map was submitted to you guys to configure these lot lines so houses aren't positioned in back of each other. We've expanded, like I said, we've expanded the lot width to 60 feet each. So with that being said, comments from the board. If we get a good, feel good tonight from the board, the applicant will have to make a decision on whether he wants to move forward, revise his applications, new public hearing, amended EAF. I mean, we're back to that whole process, but he just wanted to get input from the board.
Do you think this is going to do it for you? I mean, my first question is, do you have realtors telling you that this lot, and this isn't really our purview, I understand that, but they're saying, look, this thing will be a lot more saleable in this format?
I see it throughout southern Dutchess County right now. I could probably name you 6 builders, 7 builders off the top of my head that are looking for individual lots that don't require a road. And you're seeing the inventory move. Older lots are being picked up. You're seeing older lots that were previously approved back in the 70s. Developers are buying them unapproved and putting money into reapproving them with the Board of Health. So yeah, there is a market out there for individual lots.
So it's that road as a barrier to entry, as we would say.
It's a barrier to entry from the applicant's standpoint because he is not a developer, and we've always had that road bond issue. I mean, there's been thousands of hours put into this project to get it to the final approval format. Easements have been done, drainage has been done, approvals have been extended. So you're right, looking at it, is this going to get you out of it? The applicant is at a decision point right now where he asked me to draw a map, he asked me to submit it to you guys and get a pulse of the board.
Okay.
That's R2? It's on R3, that's on,
Got to go past Eder Road, turns in R3,
oh, okay,
up on the hill.
yeah. I didn't know, I didn't remember where it started.
Any thoughts of a shared driveway for the 3 lots that you're showing 4 driveways, one on top of each other?
Right, I talked to the applicant about that, and I said that might be brought up from the board. I think with a layout like this, I know it looks awkward looking at it from a plan view, but I think there's enough acreage and vegetation on there where those driveways could have their own unique characteristic. We have a stone wall we're trying to maintain along one of the driveways. The little bit of frustration with that comment is when we were here in front of the board, and we had a potential buyer, I believe, in 2012. The rear lots of the old layout were up on a hill, and we had 3 long driveways. And we had a potential deal fall through because we were asking for a shared drive because it is a special permit through the board. with the ability to share those 3 individual driveways. And the board at that time said to us, why don't you just extend the road? So that being said, how that process evolved with that one developer, the applicant is currently not in favor for a shared driveway. He wants to maintain.
But originally you had a road, which would be just one entrance.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not
Still
I'm not
going from that
questioning
one
the length of
entrance
the driveway.
to
I'm just
5
saying
entrances.
that the 3 of them coming out, you know,
Like even
next
your
to each other.
driveway was supposed to be reconfigured to match that road, so there'd be only one new entrance, so. But again, I think the highway super would probably weigh in on their preference.
Is it really that big a deal
What's that?
to have 3 entrances there? I mean, it's
Well, you
it's
got
not like this is
4
a highly traveled road. I
You
mean,
got 4 in a very short distance there, so do you share a couple aprons? I don't know. I think it's just worth considering.
The only comment that I have is, and you guys can help my memory here, I just recollect the neighbors across the street, I don't know if they're still living there, but they were very concerned about headlights in their house
Okay.
from the one
think we were talking about
entrance
plantings
roadway.
maybe across the street.
So, yeah, we
I-
had, so that's the only concern that I had from the previous public hearing when they made those comments.
The applicant, or the owners that brought up that comment have since moved. We do have new owners of that dwelling. I'm good friends with them, our kids go to school together, so it's obviously something that I could run past them and coordinate with them directly to get a feel good from them. Obviously, they would be involved in the public hearing process when that time comes. But I think the applicant's first notion is he'd like to keep them individual. If it's an extreme sticking point, sharing of a driveway apron could be an option. We can explore it, but the option for the applicant is right now to keep them individual, but we'll explore a shared entrance apron.
Yeah.
I mean, we're decreasing the number of houses in half, and I would assume that proportionate to the traffic, so there's benefits there. I mean, when you, let me scan it, I mean, I know you guys talked, I mean, what are the other points here that the change in the driveways?
They're adding
the
and I don't know how large the lot is up top, but there's a conservation easement over how many acres?
Yeah, we were talking with the board, with the consultants. There was, when we did the original application, there was no conservation area of that ridge line. So as part of
Individual stuff on
our
lots.
conversations was, could you put a non-disturbance restriction on the steep slopes portion of the lot? And if you look at that 11 by 17 drawing, if you see that shaded portion up top, I think we're close to 5 acres on that conservation area. And I think what we described was limiting it to non-disturbance.
Talk to me about the easement for the, how many years is it? The 4.5 acre conservation easement? I mean, goodness, right?
Well, I mean, so that's what Brian was just describing. They decided to propose a conservation easement of the ridge line,
Right.
which will help with any sort of sediment erosion issues and prevent, I don't know where this is visible from, but it could
So
prevent
Our thing was to prevent
visibility.
disturbance erosion.
Yeah. Michelle, Lot 1 now meets the acreage requirement?
So the acreage requirement for the
I should say all the
flagged
lots.
portion of a lot in an R2 district is 3 acres, because you're supposed to be 1.5 times the actual requirement of a standard lot. So I can't read this now, but I believe they all do, because they did when I saw it in the
Lot 2,
office.
I guess, really,
They're all
really Lot
over
2.
now.
Yeah, they're all, I mean, that's why you're
You're
getting.
not allowed to include the flag pole portion, and it has to be the flagged area, has to be 3 acres for the,
And we did go through.
That would really
Or
apply
flag
just to
lot.
Lot 2, I guess, then, right? Just to Lot 2, I'm
Right.
sorry. Lot 2, not Lot 1.
I mean, it's a very big flag.
Yeah, but you can't count.
Yeah, two's the only one that's.
I mean, so,
The flag is.
let me ask you a question. I mean, are we going to really go through another whole public hearing on this? And I mean, it seems like,
Yes, you have to. You have to have a secret process. It's a new application. Notice has to be given. This is not just an adjustment or dropping the lot. You know.
okay. I mean, because,
I think the issue you just raised about the lights across the road is a significant, that was a significant issue in the prior proceeding, so.
And I
Okay.
did just show preliminarily the highway superintendent the layout, and I did receive, a small comment from him, but his initial blush of review was that he was okay with the 3 driveways in this, like this, but he'll have to formally look
Four
at it
driveways.
once.
Four
Sorry,
driveways.
4 driveways, but he'll have to look at this again when it's a formal application.
There was some comment about grading. I think I saw that.
He wanted to, I guess, make all the driveways the same grade, basically.
Yeah, I think
I
that,
think is how you said
Instead
it,
of
or
just
like,
having individual cuts, did he say something about just opening it
Yes.
from the beginning to the end?
Yeah.
There's
Site distance?
drainage there too, I mean, they're gonna have to do.
yeah, we'd probably have to do that just from a low point
Instead of
standpoint.
making shoots out, just
Right.
grade it out
You're
all
gonna
the
get
way
s-
across.
You're going to get sight distance, you're going to get better sight distance, and
Okay.
I think just from a constructability.
So you may have to
standpoint.
consider some landscaping across the road then if you got a headlight issue with light shining.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that way back
That
when.
house is
so.
across, that house is higher up, isn't it?
It's higher up and it's
Turned.
It's turned,
Yeah.
so if you look at it where the road entrance was, there's one driveway that's slightly above where the original road entrance is. The majority of the new driveways are located further down the road where there is no residence across the street. But we'll obviously, we'll reach, the applicant is aware of the potential for screening across the street because of our previous application, so it's something we'll definitely explore with the
You could
neighbors.
stake these out though, right? Just so we get a better idea out there. You could stake out the center of each of these proposed driveways. Okay.
Throw some stakes in the ground when you go home tonight,
Let's do it. Stop by my house, we'll
and I'll
drink
take a
later.
drive up.
so, all right, so, guys, I mean,
I'm
I'm
fine.
hearing a lot of issues. I mean, it would seem to me this would be something that we would kind of welcome, particularly the easement, conservation easement, and the rest of that, reduced development. Any other comments that you want to help the applicant go away and kind of make a decision in their minds about whether to pursue
Quick
this?
question, do you think you're over the 5 acres of disturbance, or have you looked at that?
We're probably right there.
Yeah. So you have to find some,
Well, you do individual lot treatment, right?
Right. That's going to be the key.
I mean, and you got big enough lots to do it, so.
Right.
Isn't a lot
David,
of it already
any other
disturbed
comments?
anyways?
Michelle?
Isn't a lot of it already all
Pete.
disturbed anyways?
Some tree
you
removal.
don't have any?
Yeah, no.
No stumps.
Scott?
No, I'm all good.
Tom? No. Okay. Any comments from the board?
I'm fine with it.
Nope. Yeah, I'm good.
All right, I do appreciate it. Looks like we got a good feel good from the consultants and the board. I'll review with my applicant, and we'll make a decision.
Yeah, you'll have to deal with it.
These guys pay for your, these guys pay for your insights.
Need new construction.
Yes.
That's my comment.
Okay, there we go.
We can't be
Thank you.
delayed.
Amen.
There's an opportunity to move this development
I had to
along.
draw that, out of them. You saw that, right?
I do
Okay.
appreciate it.
Throw it right at me.
Thank you, guys.
Brian, John, you guys
Thank
good?
you.
Okay. Thank you. And now I believe the town engineer has a nomination from the floor.
Yes, we had hoped the board would consider from the floor a little brief discussion on Lawrence, Mr. Lawrence, who's the new proud owner of Klaus's Garage.
Oh.
And, I'm sorry?
3 years.
3 years he's been there.
About 3.5.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm David Lawrence, the owner of Klaus Garage, and I am a longtime resident of Hopewell Junction. And I'm looking to pave an area in the front, approximately 68 feet by 63 feet, for a purpose of used car display area.
Did you say 68 by 63?
Yes. I made a quick little, sorry for the bad handwriting, but I made a quick thing to get on the agenda for today.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
Also have some photos, I don't know if you want to just look past, so I took some.
Sure.
of these signs.
Do you know how many cars approximately that would be?
10, looking, 10. Two shots there. A couple other angles.
And are you going to actually pave it?
That's what I'm looking to do, yes.
It's nice.
Okay.
This is entirely within your property,
Oh,
not,
it's all my, yeah, all my property, yeah.
access will be off of the existing drive that's there now?
Yeah, a part of it's kind of paved already, so you're just gonna kind of just pull into it. It's already partially paved and everything.
And the signage?
There were some,
There's an existing sign, you know, right, we're gonna keep it the way it is, not changing the sign.
so the sign is existing, and,
That sign, yeah, I paid to have a, you know, a sign permit when I changed the sign, when I took over the place, we changed the graphics.
same post, though.
Yeah, same post, yep, just changed the graphics, yeah, I have the,
I worked with, I remember when you came for the sign, so you didn't move the location of the sign, you kept it.
no,
Okay.
no.
And there's no additional signing proposed?
No, I'm gonna leave everything the way it is, because the cars, you see them for sale, I don't really need to, you know, advertise that, you could see that they're, you know, for sale.
Okay, the million-dollar question that I have is when we were dealing with the neighbors' development, that area seemed to be a wetland, and I apologize, I
No, okay,
wasn't,
yeah.
because again, it doesn't look wet.
Floodplain.
So is it a wetland?
Or it's a floodplain in the back, if that continues from where the veterinary hospital was. You may remember the extensive floodplains there, and they had floodplain development. The other issue is that there's a pre-existing non-conforming use, I believe. I don't know if you checked
Yep.
that.
So-
So any expansion, you would have to go to the zoning board first to get permission, and the zoning board can grant them permission to expand by up to 50%. And then, of course, I think your parking lot, which is already partially constructed, violates the front setback. It's not back far enough to, the zoning has a setback. I think your illustration shows it's 19 feet from the pavement edge, but along 52.
How far is it supposed to be
I don't
from
know
the
if-
pavement?
There's I haven't had a chance to look at everything yet, but I believe there's a 100-foot step back in that location, so technically you would need to get a variance that would allow you to.
But is that setback for an individual lot? Because I just know the character of that neighborhood. The gas station across the street is...
Well, most of them were
right
pre-existing that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And quite frankly, I remember Hyatt's Garage went through a year-and-a-half battle with the zoning board because they wanted to move the building back, and it was all kinds of issues, and they had to rebuild where they were. So,
Okay.
So
Where
that's
was
the
this
zoning
place?
board that would have to
yes,
entertain
that's
a
in the
variance, not us?
jurisdiction of the
Because,
zoning board, that's
I
correct.
mean, my first thought, it's in line with the character of the neighborhood. I know that's,
Well, that's a consideration for the zoning board.
yeah, okay.
When was the picture taken?
Yesterday?
Oh, okay, so this is.
Yeah, yesterday, yeah, that was yesterday, that picture.
So,
Is there a reason you couldn't meet the 100-foot setback, out of curiosity?
I mean, if you're displaying cars, I mean, typically you want them closer up where you can see them, because typically, you know, when I bought the place, Klaus would have them kind of in the back. He didn't really care much about selling cars, and, you know, someone would come along or whatever, that's great, but, you know, I've, you know, changed.
And is that going to be the primary business, the car sales?
No, that's just an addition, yeah. It's always had a license there, I
So
just,
maybe a change in use,
but that's not a change
going
of
from
use.
mechanic to sale.
Yeah, so
Oh,
you've
no, no,
always,
no, it's always been,
let me ask a question. I mean, Scott, I think one of your notes referenced that there was a sale, auto sales there, that it's always been.
Well, our discussion, I think Mr.
Yeah.
Lawrence is going to provide some,
yeah, I tried
evidence
to
of that.
call DMV, but they don't want to give the information, because when I originally took the place, when I got the, you know, the repair shop license, the inspection station license, and the used car license, they didn't even send anybody out, because, okay, that's been there for a
Well,
while.
I don't think there's any issue that it's always been a repair shop.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
been some storage of cars there. I don't think anyone's going to debate that.
Yeah.
But you have two issues, is number one, it's non-conforming as to the use. So when that happens, the zoning ordinance, which we do have to give some deference to, says that you can't expand it. That means either by the building, the improvements, by more than 50%, and that's only with the permission of the zoning board. So then that's one, so that's the physical layout. And also, if he had 20 cars before for sale, and now he's going to have 35 or 40, but I'm just
No,
making
problem, I
up.
want to put 10 cars
I'm just
there.
making
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
I know,
okay.
but that 10 increases what we're there. I'm not saying it's not doable,
Yeah.
but that requires you to go to zoning board for them to balance that out because it is, pre-existing non-conforming.
Okay.
The other alternative is to petition the town board to designate that whole corridor something other than.
And I'm sorry, Tom, I'm not challenging you, I am this slow. Is the baseline that it's
not slow at
expanded
all.
on, is the number of cars previously there for
I
sale?
think there's several issues. One would be is that I'm sure if you analyzed it, the building doesn't meet the appropriate side yard, rear yard setbacks and everything under today's code.
Okay.
So you have what I would say is the physical nonconformity of the structures, and then you have the use nonconformity, because when you're using a piece of property in a certain manner before zoning is enacted, you're allowed to continue that use. But if you go from, I just make up a number again, just 20 cars to 40 cars, that's a doubling of the nonconformity.
And
So if he comes in to the zoning board with a baseline that there's always been 20 cars, then they could go up to 30 cars and give him a variance, and he goes on happy
So it sounds like
life.
he's got to go to the zoning board.
Yeah, I think there's a couple
Yes.
things. I haven't had a real chance to pull all the old files yet, so I'll go through everything to figure out, what the issues are. We've identified a couple of them, and then we'll be able to give Mr. Lawrence an idea of what the process would be to figure out if he can do what he wants to
Probably
do there.
more doable, but it's just the process is to start with the zoning board.
And the conforming use is, if the automobiles are there to be repaired versus they're there to be
Well, you have-
sold,
you
so
have to-
that,
right.
but no, I'm just asking, the baseline of the number of cars, would that be transferable from a use perspective? In other words, is the 50%?
Well, you have the use has probably always been mechanical. I don't think anyone would deny that, with the storage of vehicles waiting to be repaired. Then there was another part of it, which would be vehicles that people put there to be sold. So the use is a combination of those two. So the zoning board's going to have to, the first thing is they try to come up with a baseline, which the applicant can show by, he's starting the right course, you go to DMV, see what the records are, what was transferred. So he comes in, he says, here's the numbers that were there. Zoning board looks at it, and they say, yes, we agree with that, we'll give you 50% more. So,
Okay.
it's a process that you
Might be able to
go
look
through.
up some old aerials and just see,
Exactly.
10 years ago, how many cars, 20
Well,
years
you
ago, how
have the
many old
survey,
cars,
if you see the survey that he submitted, it shows the road down, the driveway in. He said that most of the cars usually were kept in around the back of the building. Then there was some that came down the one side.
Right, so he just wants to take
Over
some
the
of the
years, it's
existing
eroded,
vehicles and
yeah.
display them up front.
I understand
Yeah.
that, and he may very, what happens then, the zoning board, so once they get through the use issue, then he can get variances. He can ask to have that lot 20 feet from the property line in the front if he wants, and they'll go through what they go through, and it may very well end up that he gets exactly where he wants it, but that's a variance there. And then he may want to, while he's there, to clean it all up, get variances for the setbacks of the building, et cetera, so then in the future, if he ever wants to add on to his building or change it, he doesn't have to go through this process again, it'd be done, but that's up to him.
Okay. So at the very least,
Yeah.
stop the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the paving.
Yeah, that's.
So the issues, again, are the floodplain in the back that we need some firm answers on is, encroachment on that, the front setback on the state road, and then the ZBA obviously can look at those, as well as the non-conforming use. And but again, you seem to imply that there was an automobile sales.
Well, that's in just
Yeah,
based on
Okay.
his representation.
Yeah, I tried to call, speaking to DMV is impossible. I was on the phone for like an hour trying, even if you have a problem with the inspection machine, trying to talk to New York States and,
Well,
I'm
but they
sure you
have a
guys know.
process where you file freedom of information.
Yeah.
And then they'll give you that information.
Yeah,
They won't do
exactly.
it on the phone, but.
I talked to them, well, the previous owner should call and we can't release that information. So if I call Klaus,
They have to
Yeah,
do it through
FOIL,
FOIL,
do
so
it,
we want
yeah,
it
you
through
get it.
FOIL.
so if I call Klaus myself, he's not gonna bother, he doesn't wanna, he's not very
That
helpful.
information from DMV, what are you looking for? What are you gonna?
Just for, his old license number, how long it was in place for, for selling of cars. 'cause
Or if he
Not a
was-
retail.
Or if he was a
or-
dealer, they would have a record of
To
how many
demonstrate that he's had it. for-
Would they
registrations.
have a number? Would they be able to say
There
the
was gotta
number
be
of
some
vehicles?
type of number, so when I took over the place, I applied for the license, you know, the repair shop license, the New York State inspection. And when I was on the phone, they said, you want for the order sales too as well, retail sales. I said, yeah, of course, because it's already existing, was there, so we'll just they didn't even send out anybody to
Right, it's just a
notice that,
transfer.
because it's just a they know that it's been that for whatever on the record. So I said, okay, great, yeah, I'll take that too, perfect.
The reason why I ask is that, to Tom's point of getting a baseline, would the license specify the number, a number of vehicles that you can have there for sale, or would it?
No, there was no number. Usually when DMV comes out, you have to have the minimum, a designated area for the minimum of 5 cars, or you can't have a license. That's their rule from, I remember,
So that might
20
be
years ago.
that might be a baseline then, 5 cars.
Yeah, that's what you
Okay.
need to, yeah.
That's
That
the
was
minimum,
good.
though.
Dave, that
That's
was a
just the
question I was
minimum.
kind of asking.
To
was-
have a license, if you
Right.
apply for
What
it.
is the
Make the-
baseline?
it takes a little research.
And
but
a
you
de-
can make
and a
the case
designated
you want
area.
a permit, yeah.
Okay. Professionals, any other comments that you want to make? Board members, any other comments?
No?
Okay.
Any questions for us, or?
No, I mean, I was here 10 years ago, and I just, I feel like I've been through the ringer with the planning board here, not to bring up the past, but it just, the other place they had it on Hook Road in 52, I'm sure you guys, maybe some of you were here, that maybe remember that, all I was going for is a change of usage, it was a retail building, I just wanted to park 5 cars on a parking lot.
Was that the one that was going to be the internet sales?
Not internet sales,
Oh,
no.
I think the gentleman who sold it to the board before, it was going to be internet, 4 cars.
Yeah, maybe I
and-
sold it.
And
I s-
nobody would be there, and then that kind of morphed
I sold it
into
years
a very
ago,
active
yeah.
site.
I sold it
So I don't
years
know
ago.
where you fit in that.
Yeah, I sold it years ago.
Oh,
Yeah. I sold it and it got redone, but
Well, I know when it
Okay,
converted from a
we-
bicycle store, it went to an internet sale place, so.
no, because me and two engineers, Pavel and
That's a change.
Mike Gillespie, for about a year and a half, just wanted to park 5 cars in a parking lot. And I think it cost me about $20,000 and about a year and a half worth of business, I thought it was just kind of,
I'm sure we could pull out that far.
yeah, it was quite a fiasco, but anyway, that
So,
was then, this is now, so.
My distinguished colleague to my right here is asking a very good point. Is once this is all cleared by the ZBA, it is still a change in the footprint for a business, so that comes back here?
Changing the site plan.
Okay. So given that, we have a meeting in 2 weeks that has nothing on it. Is there any, would there be any further business to do with this in 2 weeks?
Well, does there have, well, he's got to make, then, to get to the ZBA, does it take a referral, or he can just make application straight to the
Makes
ZBA?
application.
No, just make an application, but the deadline was yesterday.
Okay, so we can't,
date's
do
late.
we don't vote to refer this to the ZBA or anything? We just make our
See what I mean?
comments and that's it?
Deadline for
So,
October's meeting.
I'd like to, not to cut you off, Michael, I'd like to pave it before they close the plant. And is there any way I could put a bond up or something if I don't do what you say or this or that, then you keep the money, whatever, I'll put up whatever, just to get it done, sealed and whatever, or it doesn't, that's out of the question? I don't know if it's a bond or whatever you want to call it, a escrow account.
I can't really ever see us asking you to rip up fresh pavement, so
Yeah, I just know how it works, I'm just asking you guys if
I
that's
don't
something
see a way we
that,
can do that.
The
okay.
big thing is the setback, the 100-foot. You got to get the zoning board to
So-
bless that.
Scott,
Not that I think it's a big deal, but there's a formality
Scott, not to
there.
cut you off, but if, like, you're saying if I did 100 feet back from that street line, there's no problem? Or it's still got to go through this
But
whole...
we still have to we still have to address the use issue, and then we have to see if there's any other zoning issues. And honestly, I haven't even looked at it yet, so I don't know.
Maybe that opens the door to the bond part, though.
But move it back 100 feet and then...
Maybe that moves, opens up the bond part. I don't think we can give you an answer right now. We have
Yeah,
to-
no, I don't expect, I'm just throwing that out there, I wasn't sure if that's, I don't...
You're saying the bond would be a reclamation bond if at the end of the day it didn't pan out, you'd rip it out and plant grass? Is that what you're
Well,
saying you
that,
commit
whatever, I
to?
would give the town, whatever the requirements are, money-wise.
Because that's
down if they-
typically what the bond would ensure. We don't want
Yeah,
your money.
yeah,
We
just
just
to
want
ensure that
assurance
I
that if it
do-
doesn't pass, you gotta restore it.
Yeah, ensures that whatever the requirements are, I do them, you know, if it's
But at the end of the day, to
landscape
spend that
package.
money and maybe get the variance to put it 50 feet, why spend that money, you know?
Yeah. So, I don't know, I was just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know
Gotcha.
more about this stuff than I do. I haven't been here in 10 years, so.
No, we'll make a call, I don't know, if we can
Yeah,
get them
we'll see
on or
what we
not.
could do. I just figured I'd come out here
Time
and
being what it is.
get some input from you guys and see what we could do here. you know.
Okay, so Scott, you're going to stay in contact with
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
David and keep this, okay,
Okay.
all right,
I'll
so,
talk to you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
hang on, guys, hang on. Okay, so we have nothing on for 2 weeks, and I apologize, Pam, I cannot find the agenda for 2 weeks. Was it in here, or is it, can we confirm there's nothing on for 2 weeks?
Yesterday, for the zoning.
So far.
No, there's nothing on it.
Our meeting's the
Michelle,
last Tuesday.
do you know if we
Last
got
Tuesday.
anything?
I don't think we did. Oh, I don't know if we did off the top of my head, but I don't think we did. I don't know.
Do we want to, why don't we then defer this decision until we're absolutely certain whether we've gotten something new? Okay,
Let us know by email.
so we'll leave that on. So then I think,
Do you have gravel down, or is it just dirt?
Just gravel.
You do have gravel right now?
Yeah. It's gravel, yeah.
No, I'm talking to Pam.
Well, I don't know if we wanted to discuss letting them use the gravel.
Yeah, I mean, I
Place
could
a bond, he's making application, let him use the gravel, and then if it doesn't pan out, he's got to restore it.
That
But
sounds reasonable.
does that sound reasonable? Maybe we can
that
make it-
sounds reasonable. I'm sorry, I thought that's what we were going to do. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
He
fine.
wanted,
I didn't hear.
he wanted to pave it first, but if he's
Right.
got gravel down,
If the that's fine. I mean, that works.
that work for you?
Yeah, that
that
works.
works.
Is that ours to approve? I mean, because that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I would think
He's
a
still
bond
gotta
would be
go to
in
the
place.
zoning
We'll agree
board,
on a
but-
bond for reclamation.
Right.
Meanwhile, he uses it while he's making application,
I didn't know
and if
you-
it
I
doesn't,
didn't know you could bond to allow uses that aren't permitted, but
well, it's not a question of
No,
not
it's a
permitted, but to
reclamation
what
bond. It's
extent
not a use
permitted, I
bond.
guess, right?
I was going to, I mean, is it better to just let this sleeping dog lie until we get some of these answers?
Oh, let's put it
No,
out.
but is he prohibited from placing a car in?
The car's there now.
That's what I mean.
in
I'm not sure.
violation of the rules.
That's why, that's why I'm asking. I'm trying to see if there is a way.
Haven't you always put cars there before
There's
it
always,
was?
yeah, but that's the purpose why I
Well,
bought the place.
right.
That was my idea when I.
No, but I
also
mean,
put
where-
cars
where-
there.
where-
Yeah, where they were where they're
they're
sitting
sitting
now.
today,
Yeah.
they were
I
always
just,
sitting
I just don't like how they
You
look
just
on the
tore up
grass.
the grass.
Yeah, I just don't like how it looked on the grass. If I put gravel, I'd pave.
Always vehicles there on the grass. I know that for a fact.
So what was the
Even before I
violation?
They were-
bought
Putting the
it.
cars near the road or
Well,
the
the violation was
gravel?
the bulldozer
It-
and making a
it's-
parking area. That was,
Yeah.
And
Okay.
sometimes
I
when you
understand.
make changes to the site, it's more noticeable to
Right.
code enforcement.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't
That's
trying to
fine.
hide
Okay.
it. Everybody sees everything. I was
Right,
just,
so
I didn't
if
realize
he
that. I had
ceases
to-
further improvements of the property, then I think, or puts that on hold, because I think there's an opportunity or a process to go through. But there shouldn't be anything then prohibiting him to place cars there, because he could have done that when it was grass. Is that
Yeah, I
right?
mean, I could have just left it
But I
the way it
think
was.
the
and
board
not-
is showing benign neglect, if you will, and just kind of saying, we got to get this thing sorted
No,
out.
but the issue is the gravel that he placed down.
Well, the issue is that we don't know if it's an allowable use. And that when he put the parking lot in, the question came up, because then it was a more obvious thing. So I think that the question is whether or not he's allowed to do what he's doing, and it's an allowable use and an approved use on a site plan.
All right,
I forget it.
I thought I understood that he did have, and prior owners had a car sales business along with the repairs, and,
It always
right,
was,
that's the
yeah.
DMV stuff that you're supposed to,
We haven't verified that.
all right,
We
there's
think
not
there's at
absolute
least some of
proof.
that.
But
So I like to believe we're helping you by
Yeah,
showing
no, I
benign
understand.
neglect.
Yeah, I understand. You
Okay.
guys are trying to help, but I just, I mean, that's why I bought the property. It was great. I had a place for 18 years in Mayapack Somers area. I sold that, bought this place. It's a mile down the road from my house. It's great. He sells cars. He fixes cars. I employ 3 local people. I have 7 employees, including we're open on Saturdays as well. And, I have a lot of people that come always looking for cars, so that was my main purpose. I spent a lot of money on that place to buy. It's great, it has everything I wanted. The inspection machine is very hard to get, had that there. The building do repairs, that's great. The auto sales is great. We had that already in place, so, all right, let me take it, this is it. I mean, I paid a lot for it, but you have to pay a lot to, for those licenses, because you can't just say if I bought a piece of property, I don't want to put a repair shop up. That's not gonna happen so easy. You know, that's a very hard thing to get. So I paid a premium to get that place. So I'm just trying to make the best use of it and probably want to employ another person for car sales because it's very difficult for me. I'm on the phone. I have a service manager. We're real busy. I brought the place to a new level now, brought, you know, a lot more employees there and, you know, doing the best we can.
Well, let's get this sorted
Yeah.
out, okay? In the meantime, you guys can continue to work with David, and let's just move this as fast as we can. Okay,
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night, everybody.
thank you.
Okay, thank
So
you.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Michael,
I'll look at it tomorrow
Nothing
and try
new
to get you some
came in.
information about what I
so
think.
there's nothing for the next.
Okay, yeah, it's fine, yeah. I just
Do we want to cancel, or
Yes.
turn into a whole big,
do I have a motion to cancel the next meeting? Do you guys have any preferences?
like you said, I should've-
Okay,
So moved.
do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of canceling the
October 17th.
October 17th meeting?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Wasn't trying to hide.
Okay.
Nobody sees it.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? Do
There's cars go by there.
I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And I got my gavel. Thank you.